Okay, everybody, just trying to show you guys a little bit today about GFRC concrete, glass reinforcement concrete, used for a lot of concrete countertops. In this case, we're doing pool coping and a water fountain coping, which is like kind of an outdoor countertop around a pool, very similar. The thing is, because the pool, which we'll get into in another video, has a bull-nosed edge, so the water that's spilling over is nice and neat. We have to continue that look out here on the water fountain. And so what we're doing, it's kind of extensive. It turns concrete forming into almost cabinet level carpentry. But what we're doing is we're taking PVC pipe and we are putting these blocks on there, which is, it's pretty tedious, but I'm going to get into that in the video. And we had to make enough to do about 150 feet of coping, which is, it's a lot, but after we get this done, what this does, these blocks do two functions. The first is it holds it square and straight while we run it through a table saw so we can get nice rips of a bull nose. Then the second thing it does, it gives us a way to attach it to the bottom of our mold, which is the top of our countertop, or in this case our coping. So we're making a mold, just picture an ice tray that we want in a certain shape. And so we make that, we make it as watertight as we can, and then we'll fill it in with GFRC concrete mix to make a really beautiful countertop, pool coping, any architectural piece of concrete. We do mantles, benches, a lot of neat stuff you can do with this mix. And this is the one we're doing today, so this is what I'm going to show you. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, I'll get more into the nuts and bolts of how we're doing this. But this is a melamine that is ripped down to the size of the flat surface that we need on the top of our coping. And this here is one that we've already ripped. It's pretty flimsy until we get it on there. You can see it makes a bull-nosed, let me see if I can get that to sit still. It makes a bull-nosed form. And what we're going to end up doing is attaching it flush, and we have ultimate control of where this goes, so it's just perfectly flush with that melamine, and it'll make just a nice rounded edge that is hard to duplicate another way when you're dealing with concrete. So this is kind of our system, what we've come up with. It works really well. We're going to be making nice long 10-foot pieces of coping, only 1.25 inches thick, so it's not much thicker than your 3 cm granite that you would have on a countertop, and it's super strong. So here we go. Okay guys, I want to take just a second while they are filling up our molds that we already have made. I'm continuing to make molds while they're working. I just wanted to show you close up what we're doing. We got melamine with the ripped PVC making the bull-nosed 1.25 inches thick. So that's kind of how we do it. We use these little 3/4 blocks and we just stitch them on with hot glue and hold them just exactly where they go. These forms are 10 feet long. We got about 10 of these to do today, and then some shorter ones. So just wanted to kind of give you the close-up tour of exactly how we're doing that. I'm going to show you guys how we mix a bag of the GFRC concrete, because strength is everything. It's pretty technical. There's no room. If you put too much water in it, you'll ruin the strength. So everything is measured out almost to the gram. And I'm going to get into that right now. So what we have is a 50-pound bag. This particular mix is called Buddy Rhodes. He's a pretty well-known guy that does a lot of artistic concrete. We're using his mix today. It's a white base, so to get that black look like we have on the pool out here, we are using 4.4 ounces per 50-pound bag, which there's 28 pounds of Portland, and everything is figured on a percentage of Portland. So 4.4 ounces is 1% of the weight of the Portland per bag. And then we have 1.5 pounds of fiberglass. You can kind of see that right there, and that is what's going to give it its intense strength. That much fiberglass in one bucket is going to make it look almost like coconut icing. It's very full of fiberglass. It comes in these very large bags, but we try to weigh out multiple batches in advance. We use this little food scale here, and we've got 4 things of dye measured out and a couple things of fiberglass, and so we can just keep mixing it. Once we pour, we don't want to stop. And we've got a lot to pour today. I think that water fountain has like 150 feet of coping that we're going to try to pour today. So I'm going to go ahead and also, it's almost exactly, it's measured by the pound, but it's right at 1 gallon of water. It's 8 point something pounds of water. It's a little over a gallon. But we're going to put the whole gallon in first. And then one of the guys will measure out another one to get ready. Then I'm going to mix part of the 50 pounds, just if I can keep from spilling it. Can you tell that I normally let my guys do this stuff? But in the interest of the video, they don't like to be on camera much. So we try to keep them out of the way. Okay, now that didn't take much because it's still very wet. I'm going to grab the dye and I'm going to shake it in there. Try not to make a mess. Set that there. And we need to mix this for 2 to 3 minutes. Now it's going to be very dry even before we put the fiberglass in it. It's not going to be very workable. And the secret to that is you cannot add more water or we will, like I said, ruin the strength. So what we're going to do is we're going to add water reducer. And we're going to add this by the cc. Very small amounts. Maximum of like a shot glass. But it's amazing. It can be almost rock hard mud and it'll turn it to soup and keep it that way for a good period of time. So I'll kind of show you how it works. Okay guys, so as you can see, one gallon of water doesn't really yield you a workable mix if you're trying to have a flowable, pourable mix. There are applications where you want it really stiff, like when you're doing some three-dimensional table or something. But for our instance, we need to be able to pour it. So what we're going to do, if you want to come in here, is we're going to use about 1 shot glass of water reducer. You can come in here and watch how much it liquefies. So we're just going to pour that right in there. And when I start mixing it, it's going to turn very soupy very quick. You can see it getting shiny. You can see it starting to really be flowable. And that's how we're going to cast it into our form with hardly any air voids or air pockets. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm going to hit it a little more, but before I do, I want to say, so the first batch we do, we don't put the fiberglass in it. A lot of guys will put it in a hopper gun, like a drywall gun, and they will spray it into their mold to get a nice even coat. I have found you get a lot of pits when you're really trying to polish it. It looks smooth, but up close it's got a lot of little pinholes. So what we do is we use mini rollers to push it around and get it. Basically, we paint this on, and then we put the fiberglass in on top of it, the fiberglass mix to fill it in, and we're getting great results that way. So we'll kind of get into that as we do the first one and kind of go from there. Okay, so I've got the second batch ready here. So we've got one batch ready to skin the insides of the forms. I'm going to go ahead and put the fiberglass in. Like I said, this is 24 ounces, 1.5 pounds of fiberglass. Now you see it kind of looks like white hairs, and it will cut you. So wear gloves if you are handling it. But I'm going to kind of push it down in there a little bit just so it doesn't go flying when I pull the trigger. Come here. Okay, everybody, now that we have the molds made, you can see some of them are already poured. We did them yesterday. We're just finishing up. But the only step left before we pour is to take some sonite wax. You get it from the same place that sells this. And just like you're waxing a car with turtle wax, you get a little here, and you just wipe down the entire form, the edges and everything. And all that's going to do is let the surface release easily. And you're going to wipe it down real smooth so we don't end up with any ridges of the lubricant that will embed themselves in the finished surface. So that is it. We're going to pour right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of our pure, the stuff without fiberglass in it, and I'm going to use this magic trowel here to spread it around and get it on every surface about, between a 1/16 and an 1/8 inch thick. Go ahead and start pouring that, and I'll show you how we do that. And that's the consistency we're looking for right there, just almost like a thick paint. And then I'm going to spread this out, trying not to make a mess, which is always a trick for me. And then see what I'm doing is I'm dragging it up into that bullnose to where it gets on every inch of that. And then I'll let it just fall back down into the bottom, and I'll spread that out at the end. So this is what I'm doing here. This part goes pretty quick. You want to go ahead and bring me the first bucket of fiberglass mix. And like I said, most of the videos you'll see online, they use a hopper sprayer, and that does work. In theory, that seems like it would be easier, but I have found that it makes a lot of pits in the finish if you go to polish it, which we are doing on these. We are using a polisher at the end to get a really gloss finish on it. So I'm going to drag more material down here. Almost got this done. Let's see here. There, and then we're going to drag it up there. Okay, so you see every inch is covered. I'm going to smooth this out. I'm going to pull back to the middle and just lay this all down nice and even. And we're not going to give it too much time to thicken up because we want that fiberglass to get down in this surface, not all the way to the melamine, hopefully. Go ahead and dump that in there. And as you can see, this is a lot thicker. We still have a lot of water reducer in there, so it's very flowable, but that's going to fill in. And we usually use a trowel too, like a mag float or a steel trowel. But for purposes of this, I'm just going to smooth it. And we're not worried about the finish of this. We just want it nice and even. And it's flowable enough, I can just kind of pat it like this, sort of tamp it, and it self-levels. And then I can just sort of drag the magic trowel like that. And as you can see, this goes pretty quick. All the work is in the mold making and in the preparation. The actual casting, you just need to pay attention, make sure you're not getting any voids. But beyond that, there's nothing. It's pretty simple. So that's, you know what, okay. Pretty good right there. And we may need a little more. Let me just drag this back like so. Get it all the way up into the bullnose edges. These magic trowels are actually from our cidercrete on our pools, which we'll get into in a different video. Pour me a little more, just another couple cups. There you go. All right. And they work really good for troweling out ICF pool plaster, but we found they also do really nice for this. So that's it, guys. Here in a second, I will show you one that we already made, finished product, so you can kind of see how they turn out. But that is how you make a concrete countertop or pool coping. Okay, everybody, just kind of wanted to show you a almost finished product ready to install. This one here is just a little corner we have. It's demolded already, and you can see the top surface. We still have to run a polisher over it. We have a wet polisher that will take it from about 50 grit up to probably 800 to 1500 grit. It'll take this little seam off at the edge, but it's just super minor. But I just wanted to kind of show you what it will look like once we seal it, and I'm going to put a little water on it just to kind of give you the idea of how pretty it is. Oops. Okay, come in here close. Check this out. You see how just glassy this is going to look once we manage to polish it up. This rag's a little dirty. That's not ideal, but it is just beautiful, beautiful. So anyway, this is the finished product effectively. This is what you're going to see out there around the pool and around the water fountain. So stay tuned for more really cool custom stuff.